Hey y'all, Tamir here, and I want to talk about belief today. I want to explore how our belief systems are what keep us in a certain space or energy or predicaments or situations in our lives, right? And so when you think about it, we were born into this world, right? And we were born as this whole being, this whole self, right? And then once we were born, we started to learn and pick up on behaviors and pick up on patterns and be given ideas by either like our parents or our guardians or, the people closest to us, around us, or even at school, society, all those things, right? And so we start to pick up these beliefs about what it means to be human, what it means to be right or wrong, what it means to be a good person even, right? But a lot of time we go through life from birth to now without questioning, where did these beliefs come from, right? Where did they originate, you know? And if our parents, for instance, or our guardians, whoever took care of us, instilled in us certain belief systems, right? Gave us these ideas about what it means to live a fruitful and abundant life, or the opposite. Where did they get that from? Like, is that their original thought, their original feelings, their original concepts, ideas, all the things? Or is that something that was passed down to them, right? And so if we think about that, it'll make sense then on when we start to get to a point in life when things just no longer resonate, right? Or things just no longer feel like they are in alignment with how we feel internally, right? Or they're not in alignment with what we want to experience day to day, moment to moment, right? And so we have to start asking ourselves, what is my belief system? And is this really mine, or have I been carrying things that don't belong to me, right? And when you think about it, a belief is simply anything that you believe to be true, anything that you believe holds value, right? That is your belief. And ultimately, your belief is yours, right? And so it makes sense for you and your reality, right? So everyone around you may not have the same beliefs, which is in a way why conflict and all those things come in. But at the same time, we have to start understanding, is this belief system even mine to begin with? And if it's not, do I have a desire to change that, right? Do I have a desire to rewire the way my mind works, right? Rewire the way my brain works, right? Do I wish to shift the way that I am engaging in this reality for myself, right? And if so, it starts at the point of saying, okay, I recognize that I have this thought, right? For instance, a thought of, let's just say, not being enough. I think that's a very common one amongst humans. Where did that come from, right? Did it come from my experiences? Was it given to me? Like, did I perceive something and then that was the feedback that I took in, right? What validates that? What validates me not being enough when I was born into this world whole already, right? Like, I was born as a whole being. And then from there, I was giving these ideas, giving these thoughts, giving these beliefs, right? I started having these individualized experiences, right? But that thought of not being enough, what am I measuring that by, right? Like, why am I holding space for that? Does that make sense? And so we have to start asking ourselves those deep questions of, the things that I'm holding space for, does that make sense for me to continue creating a reality that feels good to me, right? Creating a reality that makes sense to me, right? Because if not, then we have to go into a space where we recognize, I have to take accountability now for what it is that I'm creating, right? Yes, I can recognize that things were given to me or passed down to me, but can I take accountability for what I want to experience going forward, right? Can I make conscious decisions to change these neurological pathways in my mind so that I can experience something new, right? Because a belief isn't like concrete. It comes, it is in your system for as long as you keep it there, right? But the more you start to shift from that belief system into something new, and you practice, the newness that you desire, the more you shift into who you desire to be, or how you desire to show up, or what you desire to experience, right? It doesn't have to be this one way. And I think specifically with Black people, we identify so much with like struggle and getting it out the mud, and just all these stories and beliefs that we have when it comes to us as a whole. And really, when we go back in history, we were actually so embodied, like so connected to God, like so spiritual, so just beyond words, right? But we've gone through these experiences like oppression and slavery and all the things that have now caused us to feel like we have to do X, Y, and Z in order to survive, in order to make it. And that is a belief system that I personally feel like we can start to shift, right? The more we start to realize, okay, that never belonged to me to begin with, right? My ancestors actually were beyond that, right? Were greater than that and had practices they implemented in order to hold space for that. I don't have to sit here, right? I don't have to sit and struggle. I don't have to sit in this grind culture. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to do all these things in order to live a fruitful life, right? I can embody more presence. I can embody more joy. I can embody more of my intuition, right? I can do all those things and still get what it is that I need in order to have a fruitful and abundant life. So we'll talk more about that in part 2. But I just want you to hold space for what are my belief systems currently? What am I holding space for? And does that resonate for me now?